They are here illegally.
A verbal jab at the French armed forces. Speaking to the press, Niger's junta-appointed prime minister didn't hold back about the country's former colonial power. France's ambassador was also called out for refusing to meet with coup leaders.
It's a behavior of contempt. It's not acceptable. So the measures that need to be taken against a diplomat who fails in his duty have been taken. We simply expect this invalid partner to leave our country as soon as possible.
Sylvain Ite is now persona non grata, and the junta say they've also contacted France's military for a swift withdrawal. Anti-French sentiment has been widely shared on the streets of Niamey. For several days now, thousands have been demonstrating in front of the Nigerian army base, where some 1,500 French soldiers are deployed.
I just want the French to leave our territory. We don't need them.
Yesterday the resistance continued. Today you are witnesses, it continues. It will continue tomorrow. It will continue the day after tomorrow. It will continue forever until these idiots leave.
Tensions have risen since July 26th, when President Mohamed Bazoum was overthrown. France has remained firm, refusing to recognize the putschists. The junta, for its part, though, has called for continued cooperation with France. It's also hopeful of reaching an agreement with ECOWAS in the next few days. But at the same time, the bloc has imposed heavy economic sanctions on Niger, while frequently threatening armed intervention.
We expect to be attacked at any moment. All the necessary measures have been taken so that we can defend ourselves.
In response to a possible threat, Niger closed its airspace on August 6th, reopening once again on Monday.
On Niger, we've heard from officials that U.S. troops will be moved, repositioned within the country, and that some number of troops will be removed. Can you speak to that? And is there any threat perceived for U.S. troops at this time?
Sure. So in terms of Niger, there's no perceived threat in terms of any threat to U.S. troops and no threat of violence on the ground. This is simply a precautionary measure. So what we're doing right now is the department is repositioning some of our personnel and some of our assets from Airbase 101 in Niamey to Airbase 201 in Agadez. But it's simply precautionary. Our force posture hasn't changed in Niger. Our position remains the same, that we hope that the situation on the ground gets resolved diplomatically, but would just reemphasize that there's no immediate threat to U.S. personnel or violence on the ground.
Okay. Is the U.S. conducting counter-terror missions out of the country at this point?
At this time, we're still really confined to the bases. We are, again, moving personnel and assets, but we're not conducting joint operations or training with the Nigerian military at this time.
The Niger military junta have accused the French of destabilizing Niger. Just the fact that France refused to pull out the ambassador and also dragging their feet to pull out their troops from Niger, one can only but wonder why. Why wouldn't they pull out their ambassador? Why wouldn't they pull out their troops? What are they really planning in Niger? Why are they insisting on staying in Niger? What are they getting from Niger? If their only motive in Niger was to help the Nigerians fight the insurgency groups that are troubling Niger, if that was their only motive, why wouldn't they just pack up and go? Because it's simple. Niger has said that they do not need the help of the French. They want the French out of their country because they have realized that if there is one country that has infiltrated Niger, that has taken the Nigerians for granted, that has destabilized the country, that has made sure that Niger doesn't grow and prosper, that country is France. If there's one country that has taking much more from Niger and giving little to nothing back in return. That country is France. That France has been one of those terrible, terrible partner or colonizer in Africa. That France promised independence to these French-speaking countries in Africa, but they never really meant that because they just said it with mouth. But what they did later on was totally different. And these people, the Nigerians, have realized this, have realized that it's high time the French move out, that they have to take their own destiny into their hands. And what are they getting from France? No, we won't pull out. No, we will stay in your country. Whether you like it or not, we will stay. No, you cannot tell us what to do because we don't consider you as an independent country. No, we do not recognize you. You are not the legitimate authority of the country. So whatever you say, we don't care. We won't listen. We won't follow. This is so crazy. So let's go through this article I found online and see what it says. The headline reads, I think this is from Al Jazeera. Niger coup leaders accuse French forces of destabilizing the country. That French forces are destabilizing the country, are trying to undermine the authority from within. That is why I said that having the French forces in Niger is such a terrible idea that shouldn't be welcomed by any person in Niger. France must go. If the French forces do not go, they will destabilize the government in Niger. So there's no other way, they have to go. But let's continue with the article. Coup leaders say French forces freed captured terrorists and breached airspace ban as France denies all allegations. Coup leaders in Niger have accused French forces of freeing captured terrorists and breaching a ban on the country's airspace in an attempt to destabilize Niger, as France promptly rejected the allegations. They always deny it. It was the same thing Mali said. Mali accused them of funding jihadist movements that were attacking Malian soldiers, and they said, no, we didn't do it. Even though Mali had a lot of proof to that, they always say no. They always deny everything. Soldiers from the country's presidential guard seized power and detained President Mohamed Bazoum on July 26, triggering international condemnation and the threat of a military incursion by neighboring West African nations. The coup leaders closed Nigerian airspace on Sunday and have warned against any foreign intervention. In a video addressed on Wednesday, the coup leaders' spokesperson, Colonel Amadou, claimed France had released 16 terrorist elements who had then gathered to plan an attack on Nigerian military positions in areas along the border. He claimed that a unit of the National Guard was attacked at 6:30 a.m. in Baku, about 30 kilometers away from Samira gold mine in the Tilaberi region. The colonel also claimed that a French military plane breached a ban on the country's airspace. We are witnessing a real plan of destabilizing of our country, orchestrated by French forces. The spokesperson did not provide any evidence for the claims. France's Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs rejected the accusations and said its aircraft movement were part of an earlier agreement with Nigerian forces. It said French troops stationed in Niger were there at the request of the legitimate authorities. They keep on making this claim about the legitimate authorities and them not willing to listen to the current government in place. This is so strange. No attack against a Nigerian camp took place, the French minister said in a statement. A French government official told the AFP news agency that no terrorist has been freed by France forces. Well, what do you expect them to say? They will say whatever they want to say, right? But the bottom line is they are refusing to leave Niger. They are refusing to pull out the ambassador. What does that tell us? They have something in Niger that they are trying to protect. They have something in Niger that they know if they pull out their forces, it will stop them from getting that thing. And they are camping, they are hoping that something will happen within Niger so that they can invade the country. And they will do that from within because they have 1,500 troops stationed in Niger. But you guys out there, what is your take on all this going on in Niger? Do you think that France is telling the truth when they said that they did not free terrorists?